You're watching at France 24 and our coverage of the World Economic Forum in Davos. I'm Markus Karlsson. As you can see, we have come in from the cold outside and we are sitting down with Kenya's Prime Minister Raila Odinga, who is here in Davos. He's part of a strong African presence this year. This at a time when sub-Saharan Africa is displaying strong growth rates. Thank you very much indeed, Prime Minister, for speaking to us today.
Thank you very much. I'm really delighted to speak to France 24.
Let me gather your attitude when it comes to Davos. Are you seeing, for instance, a lot of interest from international investors when it comes to Africa and African business?
Well, as you know, that things have changed tremendously with regard to Africa over the last 5 years. We have seen more and more interest being shown on Africa. This, in my view, is a reflection of the kind of reforms that have taken place in Africa. That Africa now really truly is the last frontier of economic growth and development.
Other African leaders here in Davos, including the South African President Jacob Zuma, say that Africa has moved beyond its reputation as a risky place to do business. It seems as if you're agreeing with that statement. Are you seeing tangible proof of that on the ground?
Certainly, yes. And I think over this issue, we are unanimous. This is the new crop of African leaders. We have seen higher rates of growth being registered across the continent. In the World Bank say that last year, the economies in Africa grew by an average of about 5% and above. So this, of course, shows that Africa is also one now of the best destination for investments in terms of return on investment in Africa is higher than anywhere else in the world today. So a lot of obstacles have been removed. The bureaucratic red tape has been reduced on the continent generally. Issues of security are being addressed in a number of African countries. Issues of infrastructure, it's also being addressed across the continent, and corruption. So these are basically the major factors which inhibited growth and development in the continent.
There are still some perceived risks on the horizon, though. One of those risks that has been mentioned is the Kenyan election, which is coming up this year, an election that you are running in. In 2007, in the presidential election, we unfortunately saw some violence in connection with that vote. Do you think that we could see that kind of violence again?
Not really. We have tried to explain to the causes of the post-election violence in Kenya last time. This was basically the manner in which the elections, particularly the presidential elections, were handled. It was a botched manner, and it was the actual rigging of this vote that angered the majority of the Kenyan people, and they took to the streets to demonstrate. But the government reacted violently by sending the security forces to shoot at the demonstrators. This is what eventually ended up in mayhem, as the people then took the opportunity to resolve some of the pending historical issues.
More than 1,300 people, unfortunately, lost their lives in connection with the 2007 election. What kind of practical steps have you taken, the Kenyan government, to make sure that doesn't happen again? As I say, practical steps.
One was basically the reform of the Electoral Commission. That Electoral Commission was disbanded, and a new one was put in its place. The electoral laws have also been revised very substantially. Then the reforms in the security forces. The police force has been reformed largely. We now have a new Inspector General of Police, and we have also the Police Service Commission, and the Police Oversight Commission. Then we have also carried out reforms in the judiciary. We now have a Supreme Court, and then we have a new Chief Justice. We have a new Director of Public Prosecutions, new Attorney General, and there has been a reform of the judiciary. There has been vetting of the judges of the High Court. Mm-hmm. Quite a number of those judges have actually been sent home. So the situation, therefore, is not similar to what it was before. We also now have a new constitution, which was passed by the people of Kenya through a referendum in the year 2010. And that new constitution has been implemented, new legislation have been put in place to implement that new constitution. Mm-hmm. So this election is intended to bring that new constitution fully into force.
You've said that you're confident that you'll win the presidential election in the first voting round. Do you stand by that statement?
Certainly, yes. I stand by that statement. The people have shown a lot of confidence in me and the coalition that I lead, which is the Coalition for Reforms and Democracy. Mm-hmm. The last opinion poll that was released 2 weeks ago showed that my coalition was leading at 51% against 39% of our closest rivals. We have a clear agenda for the people of Kenya. Mm-hmm. And we therefore believe very strongly that the people will demonstrate this confidence by voting for us overwhelmingly in the first round.
One of your rivals in the Kenyan election, Uhuru Kenyatta, he has been charged by the International Criminal Court. Now, respectfully, sir, there have been some people outside of Kenya who've been scratching their heads at the state of Kenyan politics because of the fact that he is still running as a president. Do you have any views on that?
No, really, I don't have very strong views. As you know, he's one of my major challengers. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to make any statement that would suggest in any way that I would like to see him out of the way. This has been the charge that I am sending my opponent to the ICC so that I can face a less formidable opponent. Mm-hmm. Nothing could be further from the truth. I would like the people of Kenya to be able to make an informed judgment themselves.
If you were to lose the Kenyan election, will you step out of politics? Will you retire from politics?
Yes, certainly. If I lose the elections, I will then give way to other people. I mean, I will not hang on indefinitely, but I'm sure there will be a role for me to play in the society in the future.
I want to turn back to the Kenyan economy. The World Bank says that growth in 2012 was 4.3%. Are you confident that we'll see those kind of growth rates in the years to come?
Certainly, yes. The projection for next year is positive. It's showing over 5.5% growth in this year, 2013, and it is likely to grow higher, close to 6% next year. I think that once we take over, we will take measures that will cultivate more confidence in the Kenyan economy.
What are those measures specifically?
First, because we are fairly liberalized, but we will deal with the other factors which hinder, for example, growth, which scares some investors still, like one, the issue of security. We will enhance security in the country. Mm-hmm. And also we will accelerate the process of peace in Somalia so that our border with Somalia is secure.
Of course, you live in quite a troubled neighborhood with South Sudan and with Somalia, as you say.
Exactly, and this itself is translating into some insecurity. As you can see, we still have incidences of attack by Al-Shabaab inside our country. Secondly, I will deal very decisively with the issue of corruption in the country by ensuring that the people who are engaged in corruption are definitely brought to book, not just warned, and not just commissions or committees set up to investigate, and no reports are implemented. Mm-hmm. So we will definitely deal with this issue of corruption more positively. Thirdly, the infrastructure. We will expand the infrastructure development in the country, particularly in the rural areas, to ensure that farmers, for example, have easy access to the markets for their products. And this will increase productivity in the rural areas. So we will address also the issue of food security in the country.
All right. Unfortunately, we have run out of time. Prime Minister, thank you very much indeed for speaking to France 24.
Thank you. Merci. Merci beaucoup.
And with that, we're going to wrap up this program. Stay with us. We have more news coming your way.